Thank you for joining this last video in the series of lessons from a reluctant leader. We've been exploring the life of Gideon and the crazy stuff that's happened in his journey from cowardice, really, into profound leadership. And I thank you for joining us for this fourth and final video, where we talk about the fight and the crazy stuff that happens there. Thank you for watching. So we've been unpacking the life of Gideon and his call into leadership. Not believing that he could do that, but discovering a new identity, God's opinion over his life. Arise, brave warrior. Not you are the least of your tribe or you are the least of your family, but you are a brave warrior. And come, let me use you. He's empowered by the Spirit of God. He blows the trumpet. He calls people unto himself. God says you have too many. 32,000 people. I'm a leader of 32,000 people. God says no. Send the scared ones home. 22,000 people leave. He's left with 10. Remember, he has to fight an army of 135,000 odd. They've been fighting for long. These guys are farmers. God says no, you have too many. 10,000 remain. God says you still have too many. And so in the previous video we talked about how he thinned the herd from 10,000 to 300. Now he's got these 300 folks and they have to go tackle an army of 130,000. May the odds be forever in your favor? I think absolutely not. But God. God is present. And in this video we're going to unpack what happens when these 300 pitch up and how they do that. Guys, if you enjoy my content, please hit the like button, hit the notification bell for more of my videos coming up soon. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Please feel free to do that. Tell me your thoughts, tell me other content that you'd like me to produce. I look forward to your feedback. So here we go. The 300 men of Gideon getting ready for the fight of their lives. And you would expect that these 300 guys are like warriors. We think about the 300 Spartans. They're like the crazy good soldiers that can just tackle anything. Alas, it is not so. God sends them into this fight, under-equipped, underprepared, and under-resourced. These are not trained soldiers. They're farmers. They're basic people. They have no fighting prowess or skills. They've been under oppression for 7 years that they've all been too cowardly to stand up against. So they're not prepared. They're not this well-refined unit of soldiers that are just Navy SEALs going into the space, special forces operators. That's not the case. These 300 are really not skilled. And you know what God sends them into this fight with? He sends them with a trumpet. He sends them with a pottery vase over a light. That's it. Now the crazy thing about this is they've got something in each hand. They have no place for a sword, even if they did have them. They have no weapons. They've got a trumpet, a torch, and a bucket. That's what they have. And they walk into this fight with these three things. Now Gideon is still not sure about this fight, and he asks God twice to confirm it with the fleece. He says, I want to make sure that it's really you sending me, because he's a reluctant leader. He's not going into this cocky-eyed and prideful. He's not going into this saying, oh yeah, I've got this. He's saying, God, I'm really not sure that this is the right way to do it. I need you to tell me. Twice. He changes it up just in case the weather was playing tricks on him, right? He says, make the fleece wet, keep the ground dry. He wrings out a whole bucket from that fleece. The next day he says, God, don't be mad at me, but I want to do this again, but this time keep the fleece dry, make the ground wet. It happens. So it's not a weather phenomenon. It's God telling him, listen, go into this fight. And if you're still not sure, go walk into the camp of the Midianites and hear the victory that I've secured for you. He does that. He walks in, probably, a little bit undercover. He hears one guy telling another guy of a dream that he's had, that Gideon is going to be the end of them. He goes back to his men. He says, I'm excited. God is giving them into our hands. And he splits them up into groups of 100, 3 groups of 100. And he says, do as I do. And before the fight starts, he blows on the trumpet, he breaks the vase, and he shines the torch. This is just as the changing of the night guard happens, and the camp is in uproar. They are freaked out. Gideon is attacking, and they start killing one another. Of the 135,000, 120,000 die that day. Not one of them by Gideon's sword. Not one of them by his entire 300 sword. What? Truly a miracle that God has secured for them. Can you believe it? But what is the lesson in this? Why is it that God sends Gideon in with trumpets and torches and pottery vessels? Obviously, practically, it's to hide the light. It's to blow on the trumpets so that they feel like it's a big army, and the lights look like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of people here, because probably there's a light for every 5 people. So they make an estimation and say it's a lot more than they thought. But I think there's a deeply spiritual meaning to what happens here. The trumpet is the proclamation of God's intent, right? But the breaking of the vessel is so incredibly powerful. There's something about embracing constraint, embracing our inability to pursue these grandiose victories in our lives that makes us reluctant. And embracing that reluctance and saying, God, what can you do with me as a reluctant leader? He says, you know what I want you to bring? I want you to bring your brokenness. The earthen vessel is just a representation of us as people. We are made from clay, are we not? Breathed in by the breath of God, just like Gideon is. He's reluctant, but he's breathed in. He's empowered by the Spirit of God. And God says, bring that vessel that you have, the very little that you have to contribute apart from my Spirit, and break it. Be willing to come in your brokenness, break the vessel, because when you do that, the light of God shines through. This thing that it covers, this torch that I asked you to bring, when you break your earthen vessel, your body, that which you have to offer as a living sacrifice, the light of Christ that shines through can achieve the impossible. And so I don't know what you're facing in your life. I don't know how big your challenges are. I don't know how complex your environment is. But what I do know is that one of the lessons we can learn from Gideon is that when God sends us into a fight, even if it seems that we are under-resourced and under-equipped and under-prepared, God says, I don't need your gifts. I don't need your capabilities. I don't need your best ideas. What I need is your willingness to function in obedience and to bring the brokenness, the imperfections that you have, and lay that down on the altar of God so that I can use that for my glory. And so I trust that in your season, wherever you are, that you will embrace your brokenness. I think oftentimes we feel our brokenness is something to be hidden. It's something to try to dress up and window dress and make pretty and put lipstick on it so that people cannot see through that. But what I see in Gideon's story is exactly the opposite. It is through the brokenness that the victory is secured. I hope that you found joy in this video series. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope that I will hear from you in the comment section, and I look forward to the next series. Be blessed.